time now for a presentation about presentations. It's about powering up your presentations. And I know as geeks, we don't always like making presentations, but sometimes they're necessary. Whether you're wanting to sell something to somebody, maybe you're wanting to recruit people into your open source project, maybe you're wanting to give them an update. And so making presentations is a great thing to do. It's a one-to-many communications medium, but I usually talk about powering up your presentations with 7 power presenting protocols, and I'm going to do that today, but there's a bonus. This is the AI edition, because everybody's talking about AI, aren't they? So I thought I'd put the AI into making presentations. And so with your permission, what I'd like to do is talk about the problem that as technical people we often face when making presentations, and the temptation there is to over-involve AI. Because using AI is one thing, but overusing it would be a bad thing. And I want to set the markers where I believe it should be used. Then we've got the protocols, my 7, count them 7, power presenting protocols to go through, and where we can use AI to help us in that. And then lastly, I just want to touch on some further ways to unlock the power of the nerd in presentations. How does that sound? Yeah. Is that all right? Okay. Come on now. Okay. Thank you for that amen, Brother Jason. Let's carry on. Okay, now, here is the problem. Many presentations are made every day. Just on Microsoft's numbers for PowerPoint, they reckon it's about 30 million presentations a day. That's a lot of presentations. Now, those of us that are mathematically aware know that most of those presentations are going to be about average. They're not going to stand out, because that's just a statistical fact. It cannot be argued with, can it? Down here, this end, we've got what we call the BCP. This end, we've got the BCP presentations. Does anybody remember what BCP stands for? I'll tell you. Buttock clenchingly poor. You know, presentations that are that bad that they make you wriggle in your seat a bit. Or maybe you've seen somebody leaving a room like this, walking like this. They've witnessed a buttock-clenchingly poor presentation. They're not nice. They induce a physiological response. But over this end, we've got the SOG. These are standing ovation great presentations. They're that good. It doesn't matter what the person was talking about, but you just want to do it. You want to get up off your seat, give them a standing ovation, buy the book, see the film, change the work process, change the habit, whatever it is they're telling you to do, you just want to do that. And here's the difficult thing for me to say. That down here at the bottom half, nearer to the buttock clenchingly poor presentations, there is a disproportionate representation of technical people. It's the geeks that tend to be down here. Not all geeks do this, but a lot of technical presenters make a few mistakes and thus end up delivering buttock clenchingly poor presentations. Now, in the B2B presentation world, when you're trying to recruit clients or project or get people into your project, we've been having things like Word and PowerPoint for quite some time. So anybody that was half literate could actually put something together and it could look reasonable to the naked eye. And so it was the content that actually differentiated the people that had done some work from the people that hadn't. Of course, these days, with this, you can even get your content generated, can't you? And so there's a temptation for people to overly involve AI. But let me tell you something. In the world of speaking, as we are doing now, even though it might be B2B, business to business, really, it's human to human. And when you make presentations, the people who are on the receiving end want to get to know you as a person. They don't really want to know what ChatGPT thought you should say or what various other things thought you should say. So the temptation is to use AI to completely generate presentations. Has anybody ever heard of Gamma? Not Gamma, the carrier in the UK, but Gamma, the AI tool. It can literally generate a slideshow for you. You give it some prompts, it whips them up. I'm telling you, I don't think that's a good idea because people want to get to know you. They don't want to get to know the kind of the AI output that vaguely represents you. So that's the temptation. Now, let me ask you, has this ever happened to you? You're watching something exciting on the internet, and then boom, just at the exciting part, buffering. Has that ever happened to you? Yes. What's the problem when that happens? Just shout it out. I've got prizes. Who said bandwidth? I love it. Liv-you. Actually, Liv-you. Now, could you volunteer to be my chocolate monitor, Liv-you? Come and help yourself to for answering the question. But if anybody else answers questions, I need help to give them out. But Liv-you, you can sample a couple of these. Liv-you from the Open Sips Project. Hey! Thank you, Liv-you. Yeah, help yourself. Thank you. Yes, it's a bandwidth problem or a connection problem. Now, let me ask you, as a technical presenter, or as a presenter of any kind, or as somebody that's watched presentations, have you ever seen somebody come out on the stage without them having the right connection with the audience? To use Liv-you's word, the right bandwidth with the audience. Because when you want to make a presentation, it is all about the connection. It's all about the bandwidth you have with your audience. And that bandwidth is not just about you getting a message across to the audience as the presenter. Oh, no. It's about the information from the audience coming back to you. Are they looking a bit skeptical? Are they agreeing with every word you said? Have they got any questions? You'll only know if you've opened up enough bandwidth with the audience to see that coming back. So connection is a very, very important thing. Thank you, Liv-you. Okay, now, a lot of the time, especially in less technical circles, you hear people saying things like this. Technical people are all introverts. They don't like speaking in public. You know, they get a bit shy. Personally, I don't buy it. What I think is that technical people have spent a lot of time flexing their technical muscle. They went to college or university and flexed that technical muscle. They got some domain experience when they got to work. They flexed that technical muscle. They went on-the-job training and product updates and kickoffs and all that kind, but it was all technical. What I need to do and what we need to do is actually balance it up so that they flex the communication muscle as well. All technical people have got a communication muscle. It's whether they want to flex it or not. And here's the deal. The minimum system requirement for flexing your communications muscle. Do you remember, by the way, in the old days, when you're going to a shop to buy an upgrade for your computer and it came in a box and it said minimum system requirements, Pentium P3 with 4 gigs of RAM. Do you remember that? Yes. Liv-you. Someone who said yes? That person said yes, Liv-you. Can you give them a chocolate for saying yes? By the way, these are English chocolates. They're not Hershey's. It's proper English stuff here. Okay. The minimum system requirement is desire. You just need to want it bad enough, and you can exercise your communications muscle along with your technical prowess. It's one thing being technically brilliant. It's another thing being able to communicate that to people. So 3 rules for using AI in your presentations. By the way, I should say there's going to be some very small type coming up on these because I've done screenshots of using AI at certain things. And if you can't read it and you think, I'd really love to see the detail of that, just come and see me. I'll give you a copy of the presentation. You're very welcome to it. But 3 rules. Give the AI as much information as possible. Tell the AI who you want it to be and how you want it to act. And then, of course, I think we all knew this, make the prompts very, very specific. Further, when you get the results, personally, I think it's best to use AI as a prompt for you, as a springboard to get into what you want to say, not as the content itself, because people want to get to know you. And if you're just giving out AI slop, that's not going to happen. And the recipe for success is to use AI, this is my advice, to use AI in a human-to-human, connection-driven framework. So you're still conscious that you're communicating with people and wanting to get your message across. You're just using AI to help to, maybe to use a trendy phrase, to augment what you're doing. Okay. Right. Do you remember the 7 power presenting protocols? Has anybody ever seen the 7 power presenting protocols before? Rita has. Well done, Rita. Liv-you, can you give Rita a chocolate for seeing them before? Well done. Oh, that wasn't really... Liv-you, you're going to have to do a little bit of work here, mate. I know I sort of co-opted you on, but there it is, Rita. Yes, the purpose protocol, that's all about determining the purpose of the presentation. Have you ever sat in a presentation and not really known what the purpose was? Yeah, it happens more than you'd think, doesn't it? And so the purpose protocol is all about sorting that out. Then we got to plan to take into account people's attention spans. How do you get things into people's memories and so on? Then we got preferences. How do different people learn? Would you say that engineers probably learn differently from HR professionals? You'd be right, wouldn't you? But generally, I know it's a sweeping generalization, but different types of people, we need to cater for that. Then we got practicing the presentation. Have you noticed that software engineers will beta trial their software, hardware engineers will do prototypes, and yet when it comes to presentations, they like to wing it. They go, yeah, I'll do it on the plane over there, the hour before, the flight before, the night before. Or if it's on Zoom, the minute before, you know, the kind of thing. Then there's participation, having people actually engage and do things in the presentation. And then there's the performance, the actual getting out there. And lastly, the post-event stuff. So those are the 7 power presenting protocols that I designed especially to help technical people. Truth of the matter is, don't tell anybody, but they'll actually help anyone. You don't have to be technical to use them. However, they are designed with technical people in mind to help them make better presentations. So, thinking of purpose, as I said, it's all about getting the 3 parties who are the presenter, the audience, and if there is one, the sponsor. That's the person that asks you to do the presentation. Could be the conference organizer, could be your boss. If you're a solutions architect, maybe it's the salesperson that's asked you to do it. But getting everybody on the same page and agreeing what the contents of the presentation are going to be. It doesn't have to be like war and peace level. This can be 3 lines in an email. And so, you know, I'm coming to see you next Tuesday. I was thinking to cover this, this, and this. What do you think? And let people say, well, actually, no, I really prefer it if you covered this, something else. But get to a point where everybody's on the same page. Now, quick word about AI input. We've seen lots of AI so far. When we're asking AI to help us, we can give it various reference materials. It's not just the prompts. You can point it to URLs on the internet. You can give it documents. You can feed it other file types like audio recordings and video, all to help it get better context and give better answers. And of course, you can build anything you want plain text-wise into the prompt. So here's a very basic one on the purpose protocol. The basic one is thinking specifically about protocol 1. And but by the way, at this stage, when I was asking ChatGPT, I'd uploaded my book. And so part of it was testing whether it knew what protocol 1 was, which is purpose. So I said to it, specifically thinking about protocol 1, please generate 10 questions that anyone should ask when prepping for a presentation or demo. And can you see, I know it's a little bit little to see here, but can you see it said absolutely focusing on protocol 1 purpose. So it confirmed with me, it knew what protocol 1 was, and then it came up with those 10 questions. 10 questions to define the purpose of your presentation. So things that you can ask the sponsor, ask the audience. Now, that is what I call an entry-level prompt. It wasn't particularly exciting. Let me show you a more astute prompt to use. Notice I've color-coded it. It says, acting like a world-class business development presenter. So somebody that really makes it happen on the stage, knowing that I'm going to present to 5 people from a company, this is just examples, called Consensus, and that the senior person in the group is a guy called Todd Anderson. Check him out on LinkedIn. So I've not only told the AI how to act, I've given some background information, and then I've said, please list 5 important aspects to the purpose of the presentation that I will make to show them why they need to buy the Let the Geek Speak training program. So you can see I've given it what I want it to achieve, how to act, and all the background information. And then it did come out, and you can see it says absolutely and carries on doing the thing. As I said, a bit small to read, but you're welcome, if you're interested, to have a copy of the presentation. So, and that was further responses. So that's the purpose protocol. Then there's the plan protocol. The plan protocol is all about having a bit of a map so that as you construct a presentation, you can let people know what you're going to be telling them in the intro. By the way, intro itself is a mnemonic. It stands for impact, need, title, range, and objectives. Then you've got the main body of the presentation. Then at the back end of the presentation, the most important part, arguably, along with the beginning, pause. You know when you see TV ad breaks, and there's a lot of TV ad breaks in America, aren't there? Like every 10 minutes, it feels like. Coming from Europe, there's some ads. Did you know the first ad in an ad break and the last ad in an ad break costs more than all the rest? Did you know that? It's based on primacy and recency. We tend to remember more of the first things than the last things. And that's why it's important to load your presentation with all the goodies, all the stuff that you want people to remember at the beginning and the ending. So, thinking about how AI can help with the plan. Thank you, I said to AI. Now, acting like a demo rock star, this was based on a product demo, and thinking about protocol number 2, just checking, protocol 2 is plan. Please suggest the perfect structure for a 30-minute demo of my GeekSpeak software tool for these 5 people from Consensus. So you can see again, I've told it how to act, I've told it what to consider, and then I've told it the output that I'm looking for. And of course, just like any AI stuff, where if you get back stuff that needs refining, you can just iterate, can't you? You can say, yeah, that looks like a great level 1 answer, but now give me the level 2 answer. Or that looks perfect if I had 45 minutes, but I'm not sure it's going to fit into 30. You can iterate with these things. So, and there are the results. I won't go through them in detail, but it's able to come back. Bear in mind that I'm advising never ever to use these results and just cut and paste them into a presentation. These are here to help you make a better presentation, because the presentation still has to be about you, because people are buying you before they buy anything that you're telling them. Now, the other thing with planning is, of course, what tends to happen is people's attention span or attention, their level of their attention tends to dip as you go across a presentation, and it tends to peak towards the end of a presentation. And so our job is to try and peak it in the middle as well, using these different tools. I talked about primacy and recency. There's some other ones there as well. And if you want to know more about them, time constraints mean I've got to move on, but come and see me. I'm happy to deal with them. There's the AI results. It says, so glad that you love the structure. Blah, 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 blah. Here's the next level. Here's 10 powerful ways to reignite attention. So you can use it to help you with the attention. I'm going to speed up a little bit because I want to just get to the end, because that's where the powerful stuff is, just to remind you. Preferences. Different people like doing things in different ways. If Tony decided to give everybody who came to ClueCon a brand new coffee machine, because he might, you never know, do you? If he did, when Amazon delivered it to your doorstep, some people would like rip it out of the packet, plug it into the electricity and the water and start playing with it. How many people are like that? I was expecting to see quite a few, being an engineering crowd. Some people would open the box very carefully with a little box cutter that they keep on the countertop for just such occasions. Then they'd pull out the instructions, very carefully open the plastic that the instructions came in. Then they'd read the instructions cover to cover before they went anywhere near the machine. Who is that person or those persons? Not one at the back. Livio, help yourself to a chocolate. Well done, that man. Yes, okay. And then there's the third category. These are people that would cup their beard, if they have one, and they'd think about the relationship that they've had with previous coffee machines and what they're trying to get from this new relationship with the new coffee machine in their life. Who's that? Who would do that? I didn't think there'd be that many. Let me tell you, those people, especially if they want to involve a flip chart in that process, probably work in HR. And so we don't see a lot of them in audiences like this. Okay, the point is thinking about the way people learn, because if you're the kind of engineer that learns by doing, you think, yeah, I'll run this session, I'll put the mouse in their hands, I'll get them clicking about because they'll learn. Maybe they're not, maybe they're the manual reader types. So on this prompt, I said, thank you. I believe Todd and his colleagues are pre-sales people with a technical background. What sort of learners do you think they might be? So I'm asking AI to take a guess about these people, about the kind of things, the kind of ways they might want to hear about things. Okay, coming to practice. Well, tell you what, let's just ask you the question very quickly. How do you think you could use AI to practice a presentation? Livy, be on standby with the chocolates there, my friend. Anybody got any ideas? Present to AI. I like it. Are you thinking that it's going to do any kind of analysis for you? Might do, mightn't it? You could just be recording it, could be just transcribing it. Yeah, go ahead, Livy. Give that man 2 chocolates for being brave enough to come out with that. In fact, Livy, let him pick one. Let him have his own choice there. Thank you. And there's gentleman. Yes, sir.
I'm afraid to be too judgy.
You don't want to be judged by AI, but at least it would be in private. Unless you got signal wire involved and said, ring all my friends and tell them what you thought of my presentation. Chocolate for that man there. Can you catch, sir? Okay, the thing about practicing is that you have to do a lot of it. This is a gratuitous opportunity for me to get pictures of my son into my presentation. When he was a young lad, he wanted to learn to play the guitar, and we said, here's a very horrible Fender Strat copy. It was called an Encore, and here's an equally terrible little amp that you hang on your belt. Go away, and if you can learn to bang out a tune, we'll pay for you to have proper guitar lessons. And he did. And we did, and in 2016, my son jammed with Tony on the electric guitar here at ClueCon. It was in this very hotel, actually, 2016. But more than that, he's rocked the stage. He went from being that sweaty, self-conscious boy in the top left to rocking the stage at places like South by Southwest in Austin and Glastonbury. Not the main stage in Glastonbury, you understand, but one of the stages in Glastonbury in the UK. In other words, he pushed through. So if you're a technical person that wants to get better at presentations, the best thing to do is to do something. Because anything that's worth doing is worth doing badly until you can do it well. So it's worth practicing those presentations. Okay, AI results. Just a quick prompt there. I'll just read the prompt very quickly. It says, act like a number one presentation coach. Please generate a practice schedule including ideal audiences for each practice to ensure my delivery is on point when I visit Consensus, this example company. So that's the way I did it, and it gave me a few pointers. Okay, then we got participation. Now, participation is very important because the more you involve people in a presentation, the more they'll generally commit to the outcomes that is good for them and good for you. And so engagement is key. I'm not going to spend lots of time here, but you can see that there's all sorts of different ways you can involve people. Can anybody think, for 3 chocolates from Live-U, 3, can anybody think of a way to engage people in the audience that's not on that list? Yes, sir? Bribes? What, like with chocolate? Yeah, I like it. A bit of a meta example. Yeah, Live-U, help that man out. Okay, so participation. Here it says, during my demo, what means and modes of participation do you suggest I use to ensure maximum engagement and involvement of the audience? And you can see that it went through a few different ways for me. Then we've got performance. That's actually getting on stage and delivering it. Now, I just want to show you something very quickly here. When you hear technical people say, I don't like speaking in public, I'm a bit frightened about it, most of the time it's not true. Most of the time what these people are saying is, I don't want to be ill-prepared in front of a group of people. And that's why those first 5 protocols all happen before you step out in front of any people. The purpose, so getting the rudder of the ship sorted out properly. The planning, so you've got the clarity that comes from structure, and that clarity gives confidence. The preferences, knowing you're hitting people in a way that they can receive, digest, and implement. Practicing with them in mind to give them your best. And thinking of the means and modes of participation. That all happens before you ever get out on stage. And so that when you do get to the performance part, you're like 80 or 90% of the way there. And the performance part, using your pitch, your pace, your pronunciation. What about your pauses? Exactly. Letting people join back into the presentation or consider the profound nature of what you've been saying. All of these things are ways to use your voice in performance. And then there's the posture of your body. And you can use AI here. Thank you so much, I said. How can you help me improve my verbal delivery and stagecraft? And here the AI went to town and gave me a few options. And then lastly, the post-event. You've probably heard your sales colleagues say the fortune is in the follow-up. And it's true. And yet how many drive-by presentations happen every day? In other words, people show up without ever having thought about or talked to the audience beforehand. And you can do that, I know it's not always possible in a conference situation because you don't know who's going to show up, but you can at least talk to the conference organisers and ask them about the type of audience that comes. But if you're doing a demo or a sales presentation, you can shoot them an email. Say, look, 2 weeks on Thursday, I'm coming to see you. This is what I was thinking to cover. I just want to make sure it's right for you. So you can see, by the way, it's not a drive-by shooting. It's a PowerPoint clicker in the guy's hand. This is a drive-by presentation, and I'm trying to stamp them out. And if you went through the purpose protocol and you had that document that 3 or 4 lines in an email agreeing what you were going to cover, then you've got a way of going back and not only finding out whether the presentation addressed the very things that you agreed it should and got the outcomes that you were looking for, but even at the business level, your sponsor might have said, yeah, I want you to teach them about product X, but actually the business level objective is to reduce the number of tech support calls we get about it. And so you can go back a couple of months after the presentation and say, did we indeed reduce the number of tech support calls? So tying everybody in allows you to have an audit trail. And there you can see, I said, thank you. Acting like a sales genius, tell me what post-event activities will be once the demo is done. And you can see AI has helped there. Okay, just closing up. You remember we were having that connection problem. Well, my friends, in the world of presentations, that connection is called rapport. It's the rapport that one individual has with the other individuals in the room to deliver the presentation. That is the bandwidth that Liv, you mentioned. It's the connection that we need to establish and grow. And can you see here that those 7 power presenting protocols, when they're rearranged, have rapport right down the middle, because rapport is the glue that holds them all together. If each one of them is the part of a rocket engine, then rapport is the rocket fuel that will really help your presentation take off. Okay, how can you go further? Well, there's the book. And by the way, you don't need to buy a book. I've got about 25 books with me here in the very room. I don't just give them away, though. I want to know that you're either going to do a lovely Amazon review, Rita, or option 2, that if you don't like it, you'll send me a little email telling me what you don't like, or maybe you'll do both. But if that would be of value to you, I've got some with me. It's already achieved top 10 in communications in management. I do different things, including masterclasses and what have you. But it's been a pleasure, he said, pausing, to talk to you about the 7 power presenting protocols and how AI can interleave with them. And I hope you got the message that AI should be used as a tool, as a springboard, not to generate the content, because people want to know you. So it's been a pleasure to outline those 7 power presenting protocols. It's been a pleasure to go into a little bit more depth about them. But really, my friends, you know where this is going. The real pleasure will come for you when you adapt, and become adept at using those 7 power presenting protocols, and thus reap all of the rewards of being a nerd that gets heard. Thank you.